Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Let's Talk Fantasy Football. I'm your host tonight. My name is Nick Walsh, and I am here for our Week 2 preview podcast with my good friend, my usual co-host as of late. I'm here with Vinny Gonzalez. Vinny, what's going on?
Not much, Walsh. We're just catching the halftime part of Thursday recording. The Jets are currently up on the Bills right now.
That is correct. It is. They are up. They look like the way better team. Besides that one bomb to Marquise Goodwin, who just burned Revis early in the game. But yeah. So we can talk a little bit about that, I guess, and then we're going to get into our Week 2 preview, the rest of the games for this week. Talk about some decisions you might have to make in your lineups. But first, guys, I'd like to mention that Let's Talk Fantasy Football is sponsored by No Halftime. The No Halftime app isn't your typical fantasy sports service. You get to create one-on-one fantasy matchups, and you can use the code LTFF for a free sign-up bonus. So get on that, guys. But that being said, we are watching the Jets and the Bills right now. We're probably going to get distracted once the second half starts. So if you hear us lapse in concentration throughout this, just go off into a distance, something important probably happened in the game and we're reacting to it because we're dumb and we have short attention spans. So that's generally that case. But Vinny, what have your thoughts been on this game so far?
Just another ugly AFC matchup on Thursday night so far. But Eric Decker continues to just catch touchdowns, and that Brandon Marshall scare with the twisted knee, that did not look good at all.
Yeah, that our group text here at LTFF basically looked like all of us in all caps saying "Oh no" at the same time when that happened. But yeah, he did come back onto the field. Hopefully, he's okay. I guess we'll see in the future. And then Forte and Decker both did get in the end zone. The Forte usage, dude, has not been what we expected at all.
No, none whatsoever. And then Bilal Powell is suffering too. That was a big sleeper pick for a lot of people. And Forte is just the guy.
Yeah, I was all about Bilal Powell. And so far
Yep.
I've been proved extremely wrong. Time will tell whether as the season goes on, they give him a little bit more work. It's hard to believe they'd give the full workload to a guy, with as much tread on the tires as Matt Forte for the whole season, but we'll see. And then, as you said, Decker continues to catch touchdowns. That is what he does, and you can play him every week because of it. All right, dude. Let's get right into the Week 2 news. We normally cover news and stuff, but the news is all going to be covered with the games, so we'll be completely fine on that. I don't think we're going to do any reader questions tonight because we do have to get through all these games. If you did send in a reader question, most likely we answered it via email, so check your freaking email. And if what the hell was I going to say?
Reader
I don't know what I was.
questions,
Yeah,
something.
I have no idea. I had something else, like a second part of that. I don't know what it was. We're just going to jump into the games. I'd also like to mention that I hate it when you make the dual outline because you always put the games up in a different order than I have my notes. But that's really my own fault for not making the outline in time. And now I have to skip around in my own notes to go through this.
It's funny. I actually did that because I like to have my games in order in my notes. Because
Dude,
when you do it, it's all out of order, and I fucking hate it.
Yeah, dude, it's the absolute worst. We should probably coordinate this better where we decide on a specific game order for our notes between each other. But you know what? Let's stop doing the inside baseball segment of the podcast and get right into this with Saints at Giants. Wow, we're starting off hot here. This is projected to be the highest scoring game of the week. The over-under here is 53 points, so very high. The Giants are a 4.5-point favorite. Giants are at home. Let's start on the Saints side of the ball, though. We just saw Drew Brees go absolutely nuts in the Dome against the Raiders. Do you think he's going to follow up that performance with a good one this week?
Yeah, I don't think there's a reason not to think that because I know the Giants were heavily improved. And they showed that last week against, I guess, Dallas isn't the best test subject for it, but their defense is definitely better. But Drew Brees and that offense is still so high octane that Drew Brees is going to keep going nuts and probably be a top 5 QB when all is said and done.
Yeah, absolutely. Drew Brees starts out with two very good matchups for him, and he's going to have a great game here. The Giants, however, as you said, they are improved, but they were improved on the defensive line and with the cornerbacks. So um, I guess I'll just get right into it because we need to talk about the New Orleans pass catchers. I think Fleener's going to lead the Saints receivers in targets and yards this week.
Okay, I was leaning more towards Snead because of what Cole Beasley did to them last week, but yeah, I could
Mm-hmm.
definitely see Fleener having a huge bounce back game. And to anyone that drafted Fleener, you probably gave up probably a higher pick than you wanted to during the draft. So you got to see how this plays out. I think that's pretty fluky last week.
Yeah, absolutely. The Giants, their defense is sort of designed to funnel things towards the middle. So we saw Witten have 14 targets and Beasley have 12 last week. Snead played 70% of his snaps in the slot last week, so he was the primary slot guy, despite being primarily an outside guy last year. So it would seem to make sense in this game that Fleener and Snead would be the guys getting the majority of the targets, the majority of the work. Cooks has moved around in the formation enough, though, that I think he's a viable play as well.
Yeah, and he can always, hit the home run ball there too. So you're pretty much playing everyone. I think you can probably sit Michael Thomas if you're trying to get a sneaky play in there. I think still we need to see a little bit more out of him.
Yeah. What do you think of Ingram? I'm a little worried. That's a guy that we talked up a lot, but the week one performance wasn't promising.
Yeah, it wasn't. The Bucks kind of, or shit, the Raiders kind of held him in check. Sorry, but I think that they'll get enough opportunities here where Ingram can have a good game regardless. Maybe fall into the end zone because I know there's going to be a lot of scoring, so the opportunity will be there. But yeah, Ingram not getting as much use as we thought.
Yeah, what was the most worrying for me is Ingram barely got any of the passing work, and he was actually only even in for 42% of the snaps, and that's with CJ Spiller being inactive and then getting cut. So 42% of the snaps for Ingram, 38% of the snaps for Travaris Cadet, who also got 7 targets. That is extremely worrying for me because my assumption was that Ingram, after last year kind of evolving into an every down back, was going to do that again. That doesn't seem to be the early indication here. But you still have to start him this week, I would think. If you drafted him, you probably spent a lot of draft capital on him,
Yeah,
and it's probably too early to give up there.
for sure.
Giant side of the ball, Eli, he's got to be started, right?
Yes, definitely. Saints, nothing has changed since last year. If a quarterback's playing the Saints, they're going to go off.
This is also the matchup last year where we saw like Eli and Breeze both just go absolutely insane. So
Yep.
I don't think we should expect that, but it's going to be high scoring. What do you think about the Giants receivers? I mean, obviously Odell Beckham is the number one wide receiver, I would think, overall this week. But Shepard and Cruz last week each had 4 targets and a touchdown. Are you interested in either of them?
I like Shepard a lot more than Cruz. Cruz was definitely worth a pickup because of just if they can get the 3 wide receiver sets going more often, the Giants are probably going to involve Cruz a lot more than we thought originally. And he looks healthy. That touchdown was very encouraging. But I think you can sneak Shepard into your flex earlier than I anticipated. But definitely a good pickup for people there.
Yeah, I think Shepard's a borderline flex play. We're not at the point really yet with bye weeks and injuries that you probably need to play a guy like Shepard, just based on where you drafted him. But if you do need to, you shouldn't worry about it. The tight ends, I think we can safely ignore despite the high point total. But Rashad Jennings, your boy, 19 touches last week, pretty productive. And he saw a good amount of the snaps too. I believe he had about 60% of the snaps, whereas Vereen was somewhere in the 40%. Is it crazy to say that Rashad Jennings is an RB2 and Vereen is a potential flex option as well?
No, yeah, that's completely justified. Rashad, I think, needs to be in your as an RB2, just because he's getting the work now, and if he can get anywhere between like the 16 to 20 touches that they've been getting to him since last year and the beginning of this year, he's a great play. And Vereen going forward, I think he should be on a lot more radars because if the Giants are going to get into a bunch of shootouts because their defense is, we have to see how they hold up against the Saints here. But Vereen's going to get some work, and the 40% snap share there is encouraging for his value.
Yeah, I absolutely. Also, I know most of what we talk to here is season long, but if you are playing in daily and big field tournaments, Eli and Odell are probably going to be like the two highest owned guys at their positions this week, which means in tournaments you could potentially take advantage of that by not playing them and playing Jennings to sort of if the touchdowns go to Jennings, then all of a sudden you're way ahead of the field. So just keep that in mind if you do play a little bit of daily. Also, just a note. There are supposed to be thunderstorms at MetLife on Sunday, so that could kind of throw a wrench a little bit into our plans for this to be, the shootout of the year. Just keep an eye on it. Don't really downgrade yet, but definitely keep an eye on it.
Good.
All right, let's pick this one, dude. Who are you going with?
I'm going to say the Saints. They were close to winning last week. I think they pulled it off against the Giants.
All right, I'm going to go Giants here. Let's move on to Titans at Lions. We spent a lot of time on that last one, but that's because it's important. Detroit here is a 5.5 point favorite. The over-under is 47.5. Let's start on the Tennessee side of the ball. Really weird game where their offense didn't really do anything outside of DeMarco Murray getting in the end zone and Tajay Sharp getting a lot of targets. What do you think about them this week? Is it like the Lions defense didn't really do shit last week? Is there – I don't know. I don't know what to make of it.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that the Lions defense is so bad that they're going to have opportunities there. I mean, when you look at DeMarco Murray's game, like his fantasy points are just like, oh, sweet, he went off. But it didn't look that pretty. He just kind of fell into the end zone twice. So I want to see them in action against like a very vulnerable defense. I want to see if they can control the game, which they kind of did for most of the Vikings games before. Two of those turnovers were disgusting. So if they can kind of hold their shit together and control the game, I think the Titans could possibly win this game.
Okay, that's fair. I was just really perplexed by their week one performance. I didn't know what to make of it. I mean, I think you're starting DeMarco. And then what do you think about Tajay Sharp? The rest of the wide receivers appear to be in a rotation with Harry Douglas and Rashard Matthews and Andre Johnson. But Tajay Sharp got 96% of the snaps. Is he worth it here where he'll likely be going up against Darius Slay, who is a good cornerback?
Possibly. I know before we were just talking about Shepard kind of making your way into a flex position. If that was almost too early for Shepard to make it, I think it's definitely way too early for Sharp to make it in there. So if you have other players, sure. But daily, or if you're in a pinch, like if you had Keenan Allen or something, sure.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. Delaney, that's the other guy we need to talk about there. Is there value in Delaney?
Yeah. People drafted him as a 6th tight end coming off the board. So, yeah, you got to play Delaney.
Okay. And it is worth noting that tight ends did score 3 touchdowns against Detroit last week. I don't know if that's necessarily predictive of what they'll do for the rest of the season, but it did happen. Detroit side of the ball, Stafford, I think, continues to be a must start.
Yeah, dude. Since Jim Bob Cooter came in, Stafford has been going the fuck off, and so have the running backs too. And they're getting a lot of it's mainly because of the passing work, and it's just they run a lot of no huddle, and it's just Stafford's been perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty wild. And I saw something interesting too, looking at the ADOT or the average depth of target of Stafford's receivers
outside of 5, right?
Well, that was his average one. It was lower than Alex Smith's. And outside of Marvin Jones, whose average depth of target is about 12 yards, Riddick, Abdullah, Tate, and Danquan Bolden all had average depth of targets under 2 yards. So you can see what they're doing there. They're getting the ball out really quick and getting in the playmakers' hands. I think Marvin Jones, despite, he had a decent game. He was targeted the most on the team, actually, with 10 targets. I think him, Golden Tate, and Eric Ebron are all solid starts. Abdullah, I very much like. I think Riddick might be a little bit of fool's gold going forward.
Ooh, see, I think Riddick might have the better game than Abdullah here, mainly because Theo Riddick is strictly going to get the passing work. Abdullah is going to be rushing. And Tennessee actually did a great job against Peterson last week. And I think they can hold Abdullah off in that aspect of the game.
That is true. I'm just looking at the snap share more where Abdullah had 62% and Riddick had 37. Also, Riddick had 2 touchdowns last week, and maybe he's not fool's gold, but I think relative to the expectation that he set last week, he had 2 touchdowns, and this is a guy who had 3 touchdowns all year last year and 4 all year the year before. So I don't think we can expect Theo Riddick to be getting in the end zone on a weekly basis going forward, but he will still have some value.
He's on pace for 16 touchdowns.
He's on pace for 32, dude. Do math. But
I'm trying to average in my head and figure it out. I'm not that good at math, Walsh. I'm sorry.
Sorry. All right. Let's pick this one. I'm going to take Detroit.
Fuck it, Titans.
Oh, wow. Really? You're fucking crazy. And just so everyone knows, the game started back up again. So here's where we go off the rails. Cowboys at Redskins. Let's see. Where are my notes on this one? I wish the games were in order of my notes rather than your ones.
Well, guess what? They're in perfect order for me. So I'll start this one off here.
All right, go for it, man.
Let's take a look at the Cowboys. It was weird because when you and me had our podcast on the dress rehearsal for the Cowboys game in the preseason, we were praising Dak Prescott for not giving a fuck and throwing it deep and shit. And they didn't do any of that this game. Literally not once. And Dez really suffered. Elliott was underwhelming at times. And it was just kind of like a game managey looking offense. And we were not expecting that at all. So, Walsh, let's start with Dez. How worried are you about Dez here?
I'm not worried. I think that game was Dez's game and just the passing game in general in that game against the Giants was more of a product of what the Giants defense was giving them rather than anything else. I think Dez will see plenty of targets. And we also have to remember that Dez isn't the guy who's going to make his hay getting, 10 to 12 targets a game. Dez is a guy who's gets a ton of touchdowns. So Dak Prescott didn't throw any touchdowns this past week. I think Dez is going to be just fine. It may take a couple weeks for it to really materialize because he will see Josh Norman and Brashad Breeland, who despite Breeland getting burned by Antonio Brown, is still a very good cornerback combination. But yeah, I'm not worried.
All right. Hey, that's fair enough. It's just I saw a bunch of articles like, can Dak Prescott get Dez the ball? And that's not the problem. It's just, will he throw to Dez? Like, just let Dez do his fucking thing and he'll come down with it. So as long as Dez gets targets, he'll be a freak. They didn't throw to him at all that game. So yeah, I'm with you. Don't worry about it too much.
All right.
So what about Elliott? He was mediocre, I think, this game. He saved his day by a touchdown, basically. And I know a lot of people reached on him in the first round, second round. So I'm sure you're playing him here. The Steelers destroyed the Redskins on the ground, but do you think that the Cowboys' game plan is going to be to run him?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Washington just got like their asses beat by D'Angelo Williams on the ground. Zeke did have a disappointing 2.5 yards per carry last week. And one of the weird things was he was only in on 62% of the snaps, which I guess isn't like too few, but I expected a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, I think Zeke is going to be fine going forward. I think you can start him this week with no worries.
Awesome. Witten, do you buy him? I know Matt and Don on their last podcast were completely buying Witten. I'm going to stay away for now and kind of chalk it up to the Giants defense like we were talking about before, where it's funneled to the middle. So what do you think? I
don't buy it. It was 14 targets. I don't think he's going to see that again for the rest of the season, potentially against the Giants again, maybe. I don't know. I don't necessarily buy it. I don't know if I buy Beasley either. I want to see more than one game, and I think that was a weird game for Dallas's offense to start out on. Yeah,
for sure. All right, so let's take it to the Redskins side. Monday night drama for me with Kirk Cousins and me and Matt's matchup, but he had a shit-ass game, dude.
Yeah, not good.
No. I expect him to rebound. I think they're going to take advantage of some stuff that Eli saw last week. So you buying the bounce back as well, Walsh?
Yeah, I think he'll be significantly more efficient. I don't like playing guys in general against the Cowboys, and it's not because their defense is good. It's just because they concentrate on controlling the time of possession so much that it's likely the Redskins won't have as much opportunity as normal. So I like Cousins to rebound for the season. I don't know if this is the game where he's going to like go nuts or anything like that, but I think he'll be significantly more efficient this game.
Yeah, I'm expecting well, he got like 9 points last week, so I'm expecting at least somewhere more in the acceptable 16 to 18 range. Mainly because of this guy, Deshaun Jackson. He owns the Cowboys, and I think he's going to have a good game this week.
Yeah, I mean, he had 10 targets last week. Anytime Deshaun Jackson gets 10 targets, like it's probably going to be good because this is a guy who's kind of made his hay off of being like a low target, deep ball receiver. So if he's going to get targets too, that's extremely good. Jamison Crowder actually got 10 targets too, which was weird, but I don't necessarily think that's a guy you should be starting this week.
Yeah, no, not at all. And actually, when you look at it, last week Kirk Cousins threw 42 passes, and it didn't really feel like it. And he completed 30 or 32 of them, which was an insane completion rate considering he didn't throw any touchdowns. They didn't really seem to move the ball that well. So that's part of why I think they'll have success here. What about the running backs, Walsh? Are you comfortable playing Matt Jones yet after that horrible display?
Not at all. He only saw 33% of the snaps in that game. Chris Thompson actually saw 67%. So, no, I'm not comfortable playing Matt Jones at all. I don't know that he's necessarily like if they get behind it all, I think Chris Thompson's the guy there, which they're projected to win this game. You know, they're a 3-point favorite, but I don't think you can trust either one of them enough to play.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other pass catchers? I mean, Jordan Reed, I think, is a lock. You're playing him every week.
Yeah, you got to.
Yeah, nobody else. Possible Redskins D play.
I I don't know if I like the turnover potential enough, really. We didn't see them get a too much pressure on Ben. So no, I don't think I'd really be about it.
Okay, I think it's sneaky and daily. Probably because they're cheap and look at what the Giants were able to hold them to. So
Mhm.
it's a very interesting play to me. Let's pick it, Walsh. I'm going to take the Redskins.
I'm also going to take the Redskins.
Nice. So in your notes, Walsh, are you ready to pick back up with Chiefs Texans?
Yeah, let's do it. Chiefs Texans. Houston's a 2.5-point favorite. The over under there is 43.5. Not very high scoring. Let's start on the Chiefs side of the ball. Alex Smith passed the ball 48 times last week and was a really good fantasy quarterback. Is that legit?
Not at all. Get
You're
lost.
right.
They were down like 27 at halftime or whatever the hell happened. But yeah, that was the only reason. That's the only way you'll see Alex Smith throw it that much. So don't think too much about it. He's still what we think and know he is.
Yeah, I think he's still going to pass more than like his average this week just because Houston does run a very up-tempo offense. So they'll likely run more plays than normal. But yeah, the 48 passes is not going to be normal for Alex Smith. Let's talk about these running backs. Spencer Ware was great, but not for the reasons we expected. We sort of expected them to go up very big and for Spencer Ware to just run the ball. He was actually used a lot in the passing game. That being said, him and West both had 48% of the snaps. West just didn't really produce it all. Does that worry you? One. Two, Spencer Ware just came back to practice. Should be a go, but the fact that he was out of practice worry you? Three, Jamal Charles unlikely to play this week. How does that affect your decision making?
I think straight up you're just playing Ware. He is a great talent, and he proved it last week. So anytime that he is going to get the bulk of the work, it doesn't even like I know they were splitting basically, but Ware is just the better player. So if you have that for now, you got to ride it out.
Fair enough. I think you're pretty much dead on there. Macklin and Kelsey, they're basically the least sexy wide receiver and tight end starts you could get, but they're both starts, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I like both of them a lot. It's just they don't get the target. It's not even that. It's just the Chiefs' offense isn't what we want it to be, and it's just they'll be fine, and they could possibly both get touchdowns. So you got to play them every week.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about Houston. Lamar Miller, homeboy Lamar Miller, dude, 32 touches, over
What you
100
wanted
yards
forever.
rushing. Yeah, dude, it's like it's here. It's finally here. If he gets hurt or something, I'm going to be the saddest person in the world. Um, but anyway, Lamar Miller's a great start, even against this Kansas City defense that's pretty good. So let's talk about the passing game. Last week we talked about Brock as a streamer. Whoa, Buffalo's was that a turnover? All right, sorry, I got distracted. I knew that was.
I saw
I knew
that
that was
too.
going to happen. Yeah, I was. Are they calling that a turnover? Legit?
Let's see. Was it a catch?
I don't know. All right, we got to. Yeah, they are calling it a turnover here.
That's a catch and fumble. Boom.
Oh yeah, wow.
Anyway,
Okay.
anyway.
All right, so let's talk about the Houston passing game. Osweiler was sort of a streamer last week. I actually started him in my DraftKings cash lineup. I don't think he is this week, but what about the wide receivers? Fuller had 11 targets, more than Hopkins, 8. Obviously, Hopkins is a start. Are you buying Fuller?
I'll buy Fuller season long. I'm not going to buy him for this week. I think if you're playing Fuller in your lineup, you're kind of getting a little cocky.
Okay, that's fair. They were going against a terrible Bears pass defense last week. Let's pick this one unless we have anything else. Oh, the defenses we should talk about because they're both kind of viable starting defenses.
I'll play them both. I mean, they're both good defenses, so.
Yeah, they could both get some turnovers. We'll see what happens. I'm picking Houston.
Yes, I am too. Sorry, Shrek.
What can you do? Maybe they'll come back and win late again. All right, Miami at New England. This game is probably going to suck. New England is a 6.5-point favorite. The over-under is 41.5, so very low scoring with New England as a heavy favorite. Is there anyone that you trust on the Dolphins in fantasy?
Landry, and that is it.
No Foster?
I was going to say Foster's like kind of fringing, but I mean, I think you're playing Foster in your flex at the very least. But yeah, I think I just trust Landry to at least get like somewhere from 7 to 10 targets.
Yeah, he had 10 this past week, and he ended up with, I think, like 7 catches for like 52 yards, which is like an extremely Jarvis Landry stat line. But if you're playing in a PPR league, like it works. It gets the job done, so you should keep rolling with it. I agree that Foster is a play here. Just a note, Devontae Parker was limited in practice. He may play this weekend, definitely can't be played. New England side of the ball, is Garoppolo a streamer?
I think that falls into the cocky category. I would not do that.
I think I'm on it, but I understand where you're coming from too.
You're a cocky piece of shit.
I'm sorry. All right, so we're a little bit split on Garoppolo. I think you could potentially stream him in a deeper league. How many blunts are you smoking this weekend?
Maybe a couple. I don't know. I mean, I like blunt and all. It's just really depend. Like he got a lot of work against the Cardinals, though.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean,
and they're playing the fucking Dolphins. Like, I think he's a must start this week for me.
The only thing is they the Dolphins played the Seahawks last week, and they kind of bottled up that run game. So I'm not entirely like the Dolphins did that while they were away at Seattle. Like, I'm just worried maybe their defense is a little better than we're giving credit for. I'm not sure yet.
That's true. I think the way to beat the Dolphins defense is probably through the pass game. I just think that the Patriots are going to go up, and when they go up, they like to run with Blunt. So
true.
I'm pretty about it. He saw 22 carries last week, 70 yards and a touchdown. It is a little risky just in case they, for whatever reason, go get down early. He will basically be non-existent. You can't play James White this week. Wide receivers. What are your thoughts on Edelman and I guess Chris Hogan we have to talk about too, right?
Yeah, Chris Hogan was good. I mean, he made most of his work happen on that one touchdown play. So I'm going to wait and see about Hogan, but Edelman looked fucking great. And that is definitely encouraging for people that took him early or took him late. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you got a nice value for Edelman regardless.
Yeah, very much agreed on that. Martellus Bennett, huge disappointment. Only saw 5 targets in this game.
We called it, man. It was a bad tight end play, even with Gronk going, but it's just like it was a bad matchup, and I don't know how he's going to do this week, but
yeah, I mean, we'll see. I don't think you can trust it. I think there are better tight end plays out there, which we will touch on throughout the rest of the podcast. I'm picking New England.
Yes, me too.
And do you think New England defense is viable at all?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, probably. They're at
Yeah,
home. Dolphins coming in. Yeah.
I think you could play him as well as a streamer. I don't think they really got drafted too much. All right, let's move on to Baltimore at Cleveland. The over under here, Baltimore's a 6.5 point favorite on the road, which is really, really rare. And then the over under here is 42.5. Not a great game to target fantasy wise, so we won't spend too much time on it. Joe Flacco, is he a streamer for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I forget where I saw this, but I think someone on NFL.com was just like, it's kind of like the Saints last year. If they're playing the Browns, they're a good streamer quarterback wise.
Yeah, I mean Carson Wentz put up like a very usable fantasy game against them last week. I think you can trust Flacco. The targets were a bit spread around, 9 of them to Steve Smith. He had 5 catches for 19 yards. That's gross. Mike Wallace had
Ugh.
6 targets, 3 catches, 91 yards, and a touchdown. Basically, he had the 66-yard touchdown. And then Dennis Pitta played 82% of the snaps.
He's back, baby. I was
He only
waiting.
got 4 targets and 3 catches for 39 yards, but 82% of the snaps, dude, Dennis Pitta.
Dude, Pitt is back. I'm probably going to be playing him at some point this year. Oh,
Yeah, I
love
can't
Pitta.
wait to play the bottomless Pitta, dude. I really cannot wait. That's going to be great. And just like in a football note, awesome to see the guy back. Like we thought he was done for forever.
Yeah, man. He doesn't have does he have a real hip anymore?
I don't know. I think he
it's
might have
good.
2 fake hips.
Very
At
good to
this,
see him back.
yeah, at this point, but we'll see. Smith and Wallace, are you trusting either one?
No.
Okay, fair enough. I think Wallace is the one to trust if there is one, but I don't think you need to trust either. Neither running back really played well. Forsett got more snaps. West got 2 more carries. Are you trusting either one of them?
No.
Okay, cool. Let's talk about the Browns. I'm going to start with Gary Barnidge because he had no targets, but he also saw 98% of the snaps. He's also back with Josh McCown, who was the dude who made Gary Barnidge relevant last year. I drafted Gary Barnidge a lot. I was pretty high on him. Is this a situation where you're giving up on him, or is it okay to continue there?
No, absolutely continue. Josh McCown coming back is huge. I would have been a little worried if RG3 was continuing because that did not look too good with him under center. So this is definitely more encouraging and keep rolling him out there.
Yeah, I'm going to play Barnidge this week in the leagues that I have him, so I think it's fine.
Definitely.
I don't think you need to play any of the wide receivers on the Browns or any of the running backs, but Crowell's the guy if you do, and Pryor's the guy if you do.
I completely agree on both of those.
All right, let's and then McCown, no interest yet, right? Or
No, I mean the Ravens D looked a lot better than last year. They were one of those defenses you were playing your pass catchers and your quarterbacks against last year too, but they look improved.
okay, yeah, fair enough. I agree with that. Who are you picking here?
I'm gonna take the Ravens.
Yeah, me too. All right, 49ers at Panthers. This is the game with the biggest spread of the week. We saw the 49ers mess up the Rams on Monday night, but now they are a 13.5 point underdog to the Panthers. Over under is 45.5. We'll start with the 49ers. Carlos Hyde had a great game the other night, but is he viable this week?
I think if you own Carlos Hyde, you should probably play him. But it's just kind of like the deja vu from last year. Like he goes off on the Monday night late game, and then he just sucks for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I would be. I think if I had other options, I would be using them in this game rather than be using Carlos Hyde. Let's talk about the pass game because there's one thing I do want to touch down, and that's Jeremy GD Curley getting 11 targets, 7 catches, and 61 yards. This is the Bruce Ellington role that I was raving about all summer. It's now in Jeremy Curley's hands. Is he ownable, and would you potentially play him if you're desperate?
No, not at all.
Okay. All right.
But I do think that this emergence of Curley on the offense makes our Steve Smith, Torrey Smith Quentin
Quinn
Patton bet
Patton.
all that more disgusting. Like
Oh yeah, and which by the way,
it's
I'm winning
all,
that so far. Quentin Patton had
yeah.
more fantasy points than Torrey Smith week 1.
By like what, 2? It's gonna be real bad.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'll say this: I'm going to play Jeremy Curley probably in my cash games on DraftKings because I think he's going to have a lot of targets. I think they're going to be playing from behind, and he's going to be cheap as hell. I don't think you have to play him in season long. That's it for the Niners for me. Panthers. It's pretty much start your normal Panthers for me. What do you think about Cam Olsen and the rest of them?
Start everybody. Them being Cam Newton, Stewart, Calvin Benjamin, who I think we were totally wrong on. Greg Olson. That is it. That's all that has value.
Okay, I'm still a little bit skeptical on Kelvin Benjamin, basically because Rivera came out and said like he didn't want to play him that many snaps. I think this is a game where if they get ahead big enough, they might just kind of rest him down down towards the end of it. But if they're ahead big enough, he'll probably have done enough damage to get you a decent game. And then you mentioned Stewart too. This is a question I wanted to ask. Would you rather play Hyde or Stewart in this game?
Stewart. Just because the Panthers will be in the red zone. You can't guarantee a 49ers like constant red zone visit.
Okay. Are you worried at all by the fact that the 49ers shut down Gurley this past week?
No, I just think the Rams are fucking terrible, and all they need to do is stack the box. So they're gonna have to do a lot more against the Panthers.
Okay, that's a very, very fair take. I don't think you're incorrect. Let's pick this one. I'm taking Carolina.
Me too.
All right, Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. This will be fun because those two teams hate each other. Pittsburgh's a 3-point favorite at home. Over under is 48.5. Take me through the Bengals, Vinny.
Well, Andy Dalton looked great last week against a pretty good Jets defense that sacked him 7 times and still had a fantastic day and a good fantasy day. So I think he works into the streamer territory against the Steelers, who when you look at it on paper last week against the Redskins, they wound up gashing him for almost 350 yards. So I don't think Dalton's the worst play you can make. I'm sure there are better ones out there, but it's something considering if you're in a tough spot or a deeper league. I think Jeremy Hill and Gio Bernard are safe sits on both sides of those guys. They don't have good games against the Steelers, and the Steelers shut the shit down of the Redskins run game, but they had a great run defense last year. And I don't think that changed at all. So I'm sitting both of those dudes.
Yeah, I think that's I'm right with you there. Question with Dalton, Flacco or Dalton this week?
Wow. I think I would go Dalton.
Okay, I think I'd go Flacco, but it is close.
Yeah.
Did you mention AJ Green? Obviously, AJ
Do
Green
I have to, Walsh?
No, probably not. There's no reason to not play AJ Green ever. So let's move right on to the Steelers there. And let's start with the run game just for fun. D'Angelo is a must start. And if your running backs are good enough that, like, if your other running backs are good enough that you can't justify sitting one of them for D'Angelo, then you need to trade him right now because this is the highest his value is going to get throughout the season. And if you are not playing him these 3 weeks, you need to trade him and get the best return that you can.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well put, Walsh.
Okay, what do you think about Roethlisberger this week? Because the Bengals D is good, but they weren't that good against the Jets this past week.
No, not at all. And the Bengals D is like so hot and cold. Like they get gashed in the run game. Like D'Angelo Williams is going to go off, but Roethlisberger might have not what you expect after last week throwing 3 touchdowns against the Skins. I'm thinking more like 1 to 2 touchdowns. So temper your expectations with Roethlisberger. I would probably play Dalton or Flacco over him.
Okay. I don't know if I would, but I understand where you're coming from there. Yeah, I think I'd play Roethlisberger over them. So Antonio Brown is a duh. Adam Jones is good, but he stays on one side of the field. They're not afraid to move Brown around. The rest of the passing weapons, the 2 guys I wanted to ask about were Eli Rogers and Jesse James. I don't think I'm really starting either, but Jesse James is approaching tight end streamer territory for me.
Yeah, he got 7 or 8 targets.
7, yeah, 5 catches.
Yeah, didn't have a great game, but he got the targets, so that's definitely encouraging. He'll probably be playable in a couple weeks at the very most. You said Eli Rogers. I'm staying away. I'm gonna not buy it until I see Marcus Wheaton on the field and see how the offense looks with him back on.
Okay. I mean, Rodgers is going to be the slot guy. For me, if I'm the Steelers just attacking this, what I'm doing is sticking Wheaton on Adam Jones's side of the field and basically just burying him, like using him, like making them use Adam Jones to cover Wheaton the whole game, and sort of just feeding everyone else. But I don't know if that's what Tomlin's actually going to do with the game. Uh, let's pick it. I'm going to take the Steelers. I'm sorry.
That's it's completely fine, Walsh. I'm gonna go with the Bengals and hope that they win.
All right, cool. We're going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, No Halftime, and we'll be back with the last 7 games here. All right, guys, welcome back. That was our sponsor, No Halftime. Definitely make sure you check out the No Halftime app. Get some of those challenges up this week. Vinny, let's get right back into the games with Tampa Bay at Arizona. Arizona at home is a 6.5-point favorite. This over-under is 50. That's pretty high. Let's talk about Tampa Bay first. Jameis had 4 touchdowns. I don't think I want to use him this week, though.
Yeah, no. The Cardinals defense is better than it looked against the Patriots. They just got picked apart and very unlucky on third downs, but they are a great defense, and Winston will not have that kind of game against them.
Fair enough. Yeah, I just don't really see it. But let's talk about the running backs. Doug Martin was actually used more in the pass game than Charles Sims, even though Sims caught that passing touchdown. I think Martin's a very safe play this game.
Yeah, absolutely. He's kind of comparable to Mark Ingram on the spectrum of where we thought they would be at, like in terms of good running backs this year. But he's looking a lot better than Ingram. So, yeah, Mark, holy shit. What the hell am I even talking about? Doug Martin's an awesome play. Play him.
Yeah, that was a weird comparison, but whatever works, I guess. The wide receivers there. Evans is going to get shadowed by Peterson. What do you think about him and VJax?
I like Evans no matter what, just because Jameis's deep ball is great. Mike Evans looks a lot better this year. He's not dropping too many passes. And Vincent Jackson, man, I just don't know what week is acceptable to play him. I'm not sure. It's very unsexy, and I just don't want to do it.
Okay, I'm going to continue to put him in 1 or 2 daily lineups, just as a cheap option in tournaments until he really hits for me, and I'll probably lose a lot of money doing it, but I'm going to keep doing it. ASJ don't buy into. He had the 1 target, the 1 catch. It was that touchdown. The touchdown was sweet, but just don't buy into it. So let's talk about the Cardinals. Palmer is a great start this week, I think.
Yeah, Palmer's probably always going to be a good start. He's a great quarterback.
Yeah, and then David Johnson, we don't really need to say much there either. You have to play him. He's absolutely amazing. Let's talk about the wide receivers. Fitz was the guy in week 1, 10 targets, 97% of the snaps. Do you see that continuing, or do you think the other guys might be potentially in line to see increased workloads?
Dude, I think Fitzgerald kind of keeps rolling. It's just obviously that game was probably unsustainable. But last year, he kept rolling until I think he hit the wall week 8 or 9. I say play Fitz while you can early and possibly trade him when you get to mid-season. But the other guys are going to have to step up, like Floyd and John Brown. I would be looking to not play them as much as possible. If you have better options on your bench, throw other people in there, because until we see more out of them, I don't think they're playable.
Okay, I think Floyd is very playable this week. I don't think the Bucs secondary is good, and I'd like to note that I said before, Fitz had 97% of the snaps. Floyd had 95%. John Brown only had 57%. That's a very distant third compared to those first 2. So in the past, we've kind of seen all of them interchangeable in terms of playing time, targets, that sort of thing. I don't know if that's the case right now, and I want to see what happens this week. But John Brown is definitely the third guy right now. So I think Floyd and Fitz are the 2 guys you want to target.
All right.
I'm taking the Cardinals.
Yeah, I don't see them starting 0-2. I'll go Cardinals too.
Okay. Seattle at LA. Seattle's a 6.5-point road favorite. That's also rare. Over under is 38. That's terrible. Not a really good game to target overall. Russell Wilson, he's probably going to play. He does have that injury, though. Are you concerned?
He's been logging full practice, and it's kind of tough to sit Russell Wilson when you probably gave up a decent pick for him, but there are better streamers out there. So if he's not fully healthy, like check the practice Friday, Saturday, see what's going on. But it's just so awful to lose a game by benching Russell Wilson. Like, what if he go like Blaine Gabbert had an awesome game against the Rams? Like, it just all matters on his health. If he's a full go in practice Friday, I think it's kind of hard to sit Russell Wilson.
For what it's worth, he said like there's no way he's sitting and he feels great, but like what else is he gonna say? I guess.
Yeah.
I think you got to play him, but I don't know. The other injury news, or I guess news, is just that Rawls is going to be the starter this week. Last week, the touches were 17-15 in favor of Christine Michael, and the snaps were actually 63% to 27% in favor of Michael. So Michael was on the field a lot more, but when Rawls was on the field, he was basically used the whole time. What's your confidence level on both of these guys going into week 2?
Fairly low. I think we're going to see just a straight committee all year, probably leaning towards Rawls if this week is any indication, especially him being named the starter. So I'd like to see how this pans out before I insert those guys back into my lineup, which sucks because I know a lot of people went a little early on Rawls.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. I think Rawls is the guy if you're going to start one of them. If you have better options, you should use them. But I say that about a couple guys. Anyway, wide receivers on the team are sort of interesting. I'm going to run through the snap percentages very quickly. Baldwin, 85%. Curse, 85%. Tyler Lockett, 76%. That's more than I thought it was going to be. Is Lockett like kind of sneaky now? Have we underrated him a bit too much? Maybe.
Remains to be seen. I want to see him. I want to see him have a good. Fair. Like I want to see him have a good game. The guy to play is absolutely Doug Baldwin. He's Russell Wilson's guy. He's getting the most snap share. And Tyler Lockett's kind of boomer bust. So I want to see it.
Yeah, Baldwin's like. I feel like I underrated him in the offseason too, and I know it's just been 1 week, but like Baldwin's very clearly the guy there. Yep. Lockett did get 8 targets. He only hauled in 3 of them, so that's probably due for a little bit of positive, regression going his way. So I think he's a little sneaky. I might play him in daily sometimes, or this week rather. Rams side, the only guy to really talk about is Gurley because we're not playing Tavon Austin. You stupid idiot. Gurley got bottled up, man. 17 carries for 47 yards, 3 targets, 1 catch, -5 yards in the pass game. Now he's playing that Seahawks defense. Like, how concerned are we here?
It had to be the Seahawks week 2. Like, it couldn't be like the Browns or something. Because,
get him like a nice rebound.
Yeah, this is just terrible. Like, the Rams are going to get buried underneath like bad game after bad game, and it's just so obvious that all teams have to do is stack the fucking box and crush Gurley because no one else is going to do anything. So I'm like pretty concerned about Gurley, mainly because you can't sit the guy.
Yeah, I'm concerned. I'm like 1 to concerned as fuck. I'm concerned as fuck about Gurley. Not that I own him because I didn't draft him anywhere.
Right.
But that's a slight brag. I'll give myself that. But geez,
did you pass up on Gurley to take David Johnson? I should be the one bragging, Walsh.
That's actually very true. You did take David Johnson ahead of Gurley as the number 1 running back off the board in our league. So kudos to you there. That seems like it's going to work out.
Brag. The guys are here. The man are here.
Yeah, we're both the man. But anyway, yeah, I'm concerned. I mean, I guess you have to start him this week, I guess. But
are you sitting Gurley?
Maybe, man. Like,
for who?
I don't know. Maybe you drafted D'Angelo in like the 6th. Maybe you went running back heavy. Maybe you've got like CJ Anderson and D'Angelo. You gonna sit either one of them for freaking Todd Gurley right now?
Fair enough, I guess. I
I mean, it's
just
a special circumstance, certainly.
yeah, it
But
definitely has to be.
all right. Well. Anyway, let's move on from that. We've pondered the Gurley conundrum enough tonight. I'm going to pick Seattle.
Yeah, Seattle.
Okay, cool. Falcons at Raiders. Raiders at home, a 5-point favorite. That's a decent
Let's
line.
go.
Yeah, 49 and a half point line. The Raiders coming off a ballsy 2-point conversion call by Jack Del Rio. So you got to love that. We'll start on the Atlanta side of the ball, though. Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman appear to be in basically a 50-50 timeshare. The snap share was 55% for Freeman and 49% for Coleman. What do you do here if you own Freeman? And is Coleman getting into flex territory at all for you?
I think Coleman's on the verge of flex. I want to see one more game. I know I keep saying that, but it's important to at least like get a bigger sample size than fucking week one.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
but Devontae Freeman, I think, is a safer play than people are thinking. I mean, people definitely went early on him in drafts, but he's got a good like passing work role, so I think his floor is fine. So you can keep rolling Freeman out there as you normally would.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're going to sit Freeman unless you have, you really hit on some later guys. At this point, I'm not real confident in it. Julio's going to eat. I don't think you're going to play Matt Ryan, or are you? I don't know. What's your opinion there?
No, no. I think the Raiders defense is going to be on full display here, unlike last week because it was kind of hard against the Saints. So I think we'll see a better Raiders squad defense wise. And just basically Julio is going to be the passing guy, of course.
Yeah, that's fair. My take on the Raiders defense is that their cornerbacks should be better the rest of the year because they're both big and physical, and the Saints receivers are small and quick. Not great matchups there, but I think as they see teams with, I guess less like just quick little receivers all over the place, they'll do better. Sanu, dude, good game. 8 targets, 5
Oh,
catches, 80 yards, and a touchdown. I think I vastly underrated him in the offseason process, and I'm
yep.
starting to regret it here. Is he worth a start for you, or like a flex spot maybe?
He's definitely getting there. I mean, if you're in a tough spot, flex at the very least. He's probably working his way into wide receiver 3 territory. Since, like I think we said it before in the other podcast that if he fills the Roddy White role, like he's in, like you should be playing him, and that seems to be the case here. So I also underrated Sanu too. So I just didn't know how much work he was going to get, and he got a lot.
Yeah, no, he got a lot of targets. He looked good, and as we're saying, this Matt Forte just barreled into the end zone for his second touchdown of the night.
Forte
If
is
if
good.
this keeps happening, we both like vastly underrated him as well in the offseason. So
Yep.
sorry guys.
Or do
But
you sell him high as fuck?
oh man, that's a question for more thought than I'm giving this game right now.
We're
He
also
has
doing
21.
something else
He
entirely.
has 21 carries in this game. That's a lot of work, man.
He had
Um,
20 against the Bengals too. Enough about Forte.
all right, yeah. Enough about Matt Forte. We're talking about Atlanta at Oakland. Derek Carr. I think he's a great play.
Yeah. Yep. Just like last week, Derek Carr has a great opening schedule, especially for Brady owners. If you match him up with Carr, you're sitting pretty. And if you don't have Brady and Derek Carr's just your dude, play him.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes Cooper and Crabtree both great plays, I think, in this game. What do you think about Latavius? He played 62% of the snaps. I think he got about 14 carries. He got in the end zone, but they also mixed in Jalen Richard, DeAndre Washington, and Jameis Olawale. Are you concerned about Latavius, or do you think he's a go for this game?
He's definitely a go. It's just a little disheartening because I thought he was going to be the workhorse, and he was clearly not the workhorse. So it's pretty concerning going forward, like season long. But yeah, you keep playing him while it's early.
Okay, I don't think you're wrong there. I think he's probably a start this week. Walford, not really worth it. And I just want to notice, what am I trying to say? Note. I just want to note that Seth Roberts, who was a big time red zone target last year, was on the field for 82% of the snaps this past week. He didn't really do anything in that game, But if Seth Roberts is going to be on the field for 82% of the snaps consistently, at some point this year, he's just going to blow the hell up in a game. So potentially a guy to look at as like a very cheap tournament option in daily, a guy that I'm going to lose a ton of money on, similar to Vincent Jackson this year, by just throwing him in lineups where he has no business. And then I probably just won't play him the week that he goes off.
It's funny. In our daily matchup that didn't get logged in because someone didn't join, I had Seth Roberts in the flex because I went balls out. I was spending money.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I would have been really happy.
Yeah, wow. I didn't, yeah, that is ballsy. Just throwing Seth Roberts in the flex.
Well, I spent so much money on everyone else. I'm like, fuck, who's the cheapest piece of shit? And it was Seth Roberts.
That's really funny. All right, let's go ahead and pick this game. Who you got?
Raiders.
Hell yeah, baby! I got the Raiders too. Surprising. All right, Jacksonville at San Diego. We got 4 games left here. So Jacksonville at San Diego. San Diego's a 3-point favorite at home. The over-under is 47. On the Jacksonville side, Ivory should be active. Him and Yeldon are both unstartable for me.
Yeah?
Yes.
What if Ivory doesn't go?
If Ivory doesn't go, then yeah, Yeldon's a good start.
Okay.
But if Ivory's active, like, are you going to play either one?
No. Sorry. I think I was half paying attention. I was watching the game. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. All right, let's talk about the passing game. Bortles, like, he put up decent stats, but like he looked pretty bad in that game. He missed Robinson on a lot of like open passes. I don't think Bortles should be a guy that you're starting right now. What do you think there?
No, and is like definitely no to Bortles, but Allen Robinson, are you tempering your expectations again this week? Because he'll probably be, on Jason Verrett, who's a pretty good corner.
I am not, actually. I think I'm going to go very all in on Robinson in daily. He had 14 targets. He got some bad luck, as I said, with Bortles making bad throws. Jason Verrett is very good, but Allen Robinson is like one of the – yeah, he's just like Allen Robinson, I'd say, outside of like Dez and Julio, maybe Odell, consistently makes like the most wild, just like go up and get the ball catches that I've ever seen. So I think you can play Robinson pretty easily there.
Yeah. I mean, you're not sitting him anyway. It's just like what your expectation level is at.
Mm-hmm. And then on the other side there, Hearns, is that anything you want?
Probably not.
Okay. And then JT.
Yeah, Julius Thomas, I think he tweaked his ankle, though. That's the only thing you got to watch for. Other than that, he's a full go at tight end, one of the better ones.
Okay, yeah, I think he's a guy you should be starting there. So let's talk about the Chargers on this side too. Rivers, I think you can safely drop. I don't think he's going to be a start at all for the rest of the time.
Yeah, if you have Rivers and you were expecting him to have a huge year like I was, you can just go ahead and drop him. It's just kind of gone to shit with Keenan Allen getting hurt.
Yeah, I don't think it's really worth it at all. Let's talk about the running backs. Woodhead got the majority of the work, but Gordon did get red zone work. Do you expect regression there at all? Do you expect what do you think is going to be here going forward? And then this week, are you confident starting either?
I'm way more confident starting Woodhead for like the rest of the season. He's going to see an uptick in targets. He's going to see an uptick in red zone opportunities. It's just going to be the Woodhead show again like last year. Like what we were worried about this year was that Gordon was going to get more of a workload and, Woodhead wouldn't see as many targets or anything like that. But with Keenan going down, they're just going to keep going up.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. I think Woodhead's a good move going forward. In the passing game, Travis Benjamin got 7 targets after Keenan got hurt. What's your take on the wide receivers? I'm not really confident in any of them.
Yeah, I want to see how it shakes out. I'm not eager to play anybody, but there will be value there shortly. So keep an eye on it for the coming weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Gates really takes off in value here. I think he's going to be very underrated after getting shut down by Eric Berry week 1. And is a nice start the rest of the way.
Yeah, for sure. He'll be like the very solid foundation that they can kind of get their bearings try to get back to like a stable offense there.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Is there anything else here we need to talk about?
I don't think so, but I am going to take the Jaguars.
I was going to take the Jaguars. You know what? Yeah, I'll still take the Jaguars.
You
Let's
should.
we can agree on that one. All right.
Mhm.
Um, let's move on to Colts at Broncos. So this one, the Broncos, I believe, are a 6-point favorite. The over/under is 46. This is going to be the test for the offensive line that looked good against Detroit. Now they have to face a very good pass rush in the Broncos. Um, do you think Luck is going to survive, and are you starting him?
Yeah, I mean, you have to start Luck. At the very least, they'll be throwing it a lot because they'll probably be down. Yeah, I mean, I don't love it, but you can't sit Luck.
Okay, that's fair. I agree with you there. On the wide receiver side, Hilton and Moncrief, I think, are basically every week starts at this point because Luck's just going to have a ton of volume to him. Do you have any argument there? Or
No, you're dead on with that.
okay, and then the rest of the pass catching options are Dorsett, Dwayne Allen, Jack Doyle. I don't think I'm really in on any of them this week.
I'll take some Dwayne Allen, just because the Jack Doyle stuff I think was a little fluky, and I think Dwayne Allen's the dude there. He played way more of the snap count than Jack Doyle. I think it was just the 2 touchdowns that went his way.
Doyle actually did play 56% of those snaps, which like isn't terrible.
Right, but
But
they ran the two tight end set anyway with Kobe Fleener there. So, but Dwayne Allen ran like what 80%, I think.
70
70.
was, yeah. So, I mean, it is what it is. We'll see what happens. But yeah, Allen's definitely the guy if there is any of them there. At running back, Frank Gore, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you fell into a running back hole in your draft, you're probably playing Frank Gore if you have to.
Okay. Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I don't think I would want to at all.
Well, it's a terrible play, but if you're stuck.
Yeah, sure. All right, Broncos side. Give me your CJ Anderson take because I want to see if it aligns with mine.
That he's just going to get 30 carries this game and rip the Colts up.
Yeah. I have him like as the number one back ahead of David Johnson this week.
Yeah, no,
and I have David Johnson really high up there.
CJ Anderson has like the antithesis like schedule of Todd Gurley. Like he's just going to like shred for 2 games instead of getting stuffed. So yeah. CJ Anderson all day.
Homeboy just killed the Panthers. Now he's like, this is a Colts defense that gave up 200 total yards, more than 200 total yards to the combination of Amir Abdullah and Theo Riddick. So like CJ Anderson is just going to like murder people in this game.
Absolutely.
But yeah, let's move on to the passing game. DT is day to day. He was limited in practice all week after this hip issue. What do you think about Sanders?
The thing with the passing game, like on paper, it looks so fucking sweet, like against the Colts, especially the way the Lions carved them up. But if we're expecting CJ Anderson to have a huge ass game, they're going to be limited in targets. So that's my only concern here. Other than that, they're both fine plays.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. Is there any interest if DT misses in like a Cody Latimer or a Virgil Green potentially?
More like probably Virgil Green. I wouldn't say Latimer.
Okay, yeah, I guess that's about right. Broncos D, they're a defense everyone starts. I think they're a fine start this week.
Yeah, they're good enough to just play every week.
Cool. All right, let's pick it.
Broncos.
Yeah, I'm going to go Broncos too. I don't feel like getting bold there.
Nope.
All right, Sunday night game, Packers at Vikings. The Packers are a road favorite, 2.5 points. The over-under is 44, so not very high. On the Packers side, Rodgers pretty much looked like the old Rodgers last game. Are you comfortable starting him this week on the road against a good defense?
Yeah, I'm not getting ballsy and sitting Rodgers probably ever. So roll him out.
All right, fair enough. Jordy and Cobb both had pretty good games, but the newsworthy thing here in the wide receiver core was that Devontae Adams played more snaps than Cobb and had 7 targets last week. I think he should be picked up, but are you considering starting him at any time soon?
No, it's always hard to play like the third person in the passing game, whether that be Jared, I don't catch passes, Cook, or or Devontae Adams, or any of those guys. So it's a tough call either way, but yeah, definitely warranted a pickup.
Okay, fair enough. And I'd also just like to mention it seems unlikely at this point that Xavier Rhodes is going to play this week, who is the Vikings' top corner. So you can upgrade Jordy even a little bit more there. He's going to have a better matchup. Uh, on the Minnesota side, Sam Bradford is getting first team reps in practice. Obviously, you're not playing him, but does it make you higher or lower on Stephon Diggs, who I think is the only pass catching option for fantasy right now on the team?
A little lower. It's going to be one of those things where you got to see again, like because he was fine with Sean Hill. It's just what kind of rapport does he have with Bradford? So I would like to see.
Yeah, I also don't know really how that's going to shake out. I think he's a risky play, but not the worst play you could make. Do you trust Adrian Peterson after really a garbage performance week 1 against the Titans?
Yeah, he was fucking bad, but just like Todd Gurley, I don't think you can afford to sit Peterson.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you drafted him, you're probably not sitting him at this point. I don't really necessarily think he's going to go nuts in this matchup where, the Packers shut down TJ Yeldon in terms of efficiency last week. Not that Yeldon is on the Peterson level by any means, but it's worth noting that their run defense in one game, which, obviously is a significant sample size, has looked good. You got in this one.
Yeah, Packers.
Yeah, I'm taking the Packers too. We're sticking predictable here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then the Monday night game, which is a relatively terrible Monday night game, to be honest. I don't know how they looked at the schedule and were like, yes, this is the one. But it's Philadelphia at Chicago. Chicago's a 3-point favorite. The over/under is 43 points. The Bears let up a lot of offense to the Texans last week. Does that intrigue you for any Philadelphia plays after they looked pretty good, albeit against the garbage-ass Browns?
That's why it's so hard to gauge. But I think you're just kind of rolling out both Matthews. So I think that kind of caps off the Eagles' fantasy value there. You're playing both of those guys, and that's it.
I'm mildly intrigued by Sproles and almost think Sproles might have a better game than Matthews this week. Their snap share, Sproles actually was 49% compared to 48% for Matthews. And while he got significantly less work, they are, an underdog in this game. And it is possible that they would be playing from behind, in which case I think Sproles could get a little bit more, a few more targets, a little bit more work there. But I don't know. That's kind of more of a hunch than anything else, I guess. Is Carson Wentz after like a good week 1? Is that something to like believe in?
No.
Okay, cool. And then also Ertz may not play. I guess keep an eye on the other tight ends who are Selleck and Trey Burton. But J-Matt's the guy who's going to benefit. He already had 41% of the target share week 1. That's, he won't have that much for the season, but 30%, that seems pretty reasonable for a guy with such bad options around him.
For sure.
Anything else on the Eagles for you?
Yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up.
Okay. What about Chicago? Is Jay Cutler a play this week?
Nah, I mean, I love Cutler, but there's probably no reason to play Cutler at all.
Yeah, I agree there. But is Jeremy Langford a play?
Yes, he is. And he'll continue to be a play because he is their dude in the backfield. And he has found the end zone, I think, 4 out of the last 5 games they've played with him, like getting more than 12 or 15 touches. So, yeah, I'm willing to put some money on Langford that he kind of gets in the end zone again.
Fair enough. He's on the field for 96% of snaps last week. He was inefficient, but definitely still worth playing. The pass catchers, Kevin White actually outsnapped and out-targeted Alshon, but he did not outproduce him because he is bad and Alshon is good. Eddie Royal also got in the end zone and was definitely their third wide receiver. What's your take on these three? Is anyone outside of Alshon worth playing?
No, I mean, Alshon continues to do what he does and just catch deep balls and go up and get the ball. Kevin White, I would be concerned about. A lot of people are high on him, thinking he's going to get an uptick in targets and stuff like that. So that is yet to be seen. As far as like getting fantasy points and producing. And Eddie Royal is just Eddie Royal. It's fluky. You can't bank on that for shit.
Yeah, I think you're probably right there. Eddie Royal is not even worth a pickup in my eyes. Um, I guess let's just go ahead and pick this one. Who you got here?
I'm gonna go with the Eagles.
Dude, you keep like when I feel like I'm like, oh, I should take the underdog. You keep just taking them right before I'm going to. My sneaky
Sorry.
take is that the Eagles are a good defense, and I think that's
Okay.
going to show itself a little bit here. So I'm going to take the Eagles as well, and that's going to wrap up our Week 2 preview. Anything to say to the people, Vinny? Any last words before we dive into Week 2?
No, not really. Just follow your heart, make the good plays, and hopefully you win this week.
Yes, follow your heart, follow your dick, make the good plays, and win this week. With that being said, for Vinny Gonzalez, my name is Nick Walsh. Later podcast.
Yes, I was hoping you remembered.
I did.
Nice.
All right, man.
Good
Well,
shit. I think we made it under an hour after like kind of panicking in the beginning.